Welcome to the Holly Hughes Podcast, where creative people get together and talk about living a creative life. I'm exceedingly excited to have Misha Fair here today. She calls herself an alt-country artist and songwriter, but I think you're a soul country artist and songwriter. And so I want to call you that today, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Because your music just feels that way to me, and your voice and your vibe and your sound has all got that in it, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, do
Yeah.
you consciously write that way? Like, is that how music feels in your body?
It's interesting. I come from a background of jazz and soul and funk with my parents and grandparents being in music, in those sectors of music. And so I think that is definitely in me, but I'm classically trained. So I'm always thinking melodically and I don't know. I think it's just how it comes up. Um I think from a really young age because I also was really exposed to like pure Americana, old-timey, country and then going through, I think as we all did, the 90s country boom. I don't know. It's like some days the music comes out and it's so country. It's all dulcimers and banjos and mandolins and everybody's like, "Oh, you sound like Dolly." And then there's other days where I'm squalling and I sound like Etta James. So,
Yes. A
you know
little
what I mean?
Aretha. I do, because I listen to all your stuff. So like for me, like with Beg and Love, Sweat and Wine, right? Like, I'm listening to it. I'm like, like just wanna like I just want with you. Do you know,
Yeah.
like, is that okay? There's too much. I want to back up. So I want to talk about your family and your background and being exposed to music.
Mhm.
Like I always say my appreciation for music or being able to read it or whatever the instruments I grew up playing is because in elementary school, I had a really good music teacher,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
that opened the door, right? Because that wasn't really, not that my parents didn't play music, but I think that was probably a massive luxury for them growing up. It was like, you can even consider that. We have many more important things to do. But I think when you are exposed to music, musicality, and sound like that at a very young age, it shapes the world. So
Yeah.
I want to know what your world looked like growing up.
Oh my goodness. I think I had a pretty unusual look. So first of all, I grew up on a street. It was the only street in our neighborhood that didn't have a music name. It was a color, and I can say it because it's really cool. So Indigo is the street that I grew up on, and all the other streets were like Lyric and Symphony and, things like that. And so, I mean, for like the entire neighborhood, but we were the first family in that neighborhood, but that was not like the correlation. It just happened that way. And my grandfather was a jazz musician who he opened, well, my father's father he opened the Playboy Club in Atlanta and was like a really integral part of that scene of jazz. He was friends with Sammy Davis Jr. and there was a lot of that. And then my mother's father was this soul pioneer. His name is Chuck Willis and they call him the king of the stroll. So whenever we do like the Soul Train line or even on American Bandstand when the teams would line up and go down the line, the stroll was like his thing. So, a lot of his music got sung by Conway Twitty and Elvis and Otis Redding and all these people. And so I always knew that, how people say it's in your blood. Because outside of just knowing I had like professional musicians, like my parents were with the SOS Band and during the 80s, they were like everything. So at school we do show and tell.
They were part, wait, I did not, wait, that was not, and like, shut up.
Yeah.
I see that was
Yeah.
my era because I'm older, but like, shut up.
So yeah, like other kids would come to show and tell or go to I remember Parents' Day in kindergarten. And there was one other kid whose dad was like a really big radio DJ. So when he showed up, and then my parents showed up, and they actually brought other members of the band, but they came in their like concert gear, like fresh off a tour. And I mean, it was crazy. I was that kid, but my parents were really really grounded. My mom um and well, my grandmother, she was a music teacher, so for her it was like you got to know how to read music. So um I think I've known how to do that since I was like 4, because that was just important. Um and
Wait, did they even do like the do re mi with your hands too, or not? Just the
no,
music.
it
You
just
know what
was
I'm talking about though, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah. Like I don't remember those systems. I just remember. So when I tell you I was primed in a very interesting position, like at my church, the minister of music was like over the Morehouse College Glee Club, and so everyone around me was so deeply embedded into the music community. And so even when we were like, if we were on hard times, people would like come together and make sure that I could have music classes and join like choirs, and I'd had access to auditions and things. So for me, it was therapy because I had a really rough go at socializing. Like I didn't socialize well. So um, being able to, while my dad was on tour, because I mean, I was really with my grandma the whole time. She made sure that I was in children's choirs. There was a touring choir called Callanwald, and they would give you sheet music. Even if you couldn't read it, you had to have it with the notes. And I think that's a logical process happened where I'm like, okay, the notes go up on the page and the voices go up, and the notes go down and the voices go down. And people started, giving me tips about how to find those notes, you know, but I don't recall having a formal music class until high school, where outside of just being in a chorus. And my parents, they were just doing their thing. They were young and they were, musicians. So we didn't like play together. I actually didn't play with my dad until recently.
like never even practice in the house? Like, was there like um any pressure? Like, I'm thinking if I came
Never.
from a musical family, what if I sucked?
Ne-
What if I am like I'm kind of tone deaf. I think I can sing like 3 notes actually on key, but I'm always singing. I'm the girl in the car singing loud. I don't care. I realize when I exercise, right, because I'm always taking dance classes, I'm like, why am I so out of breath? I'm like, I'm singing. Oh my God, can the person next to me hear me? I hope not. Like I do it as like a release, but I am not creative that way.
Yeah.
So how I experience the world and like hoard moments as a writer, I'm so fascinated by like your process of doing that, especially again because you came from that. Like my mom's like she was a stay-at-home, mom. That was like her option back in the day, but always an artist, right? Always
Mhm.
painting, always doing something. So I was exposed to art really young. Right. So
Mhm.
going to a museum or going to see something, I get really hungry for it when I don't get that fed
Yeah.
into me, which is like why I dance every week, whatever. My dad was a chemical engineer. So totally different kind of mentality. They both grew up really poor.
Mhm.
Right. And so for us, it was go to school and do better.
Mhm.
Right. So growing up, it was like, well, how you want to write? How do you make a living doing that? Like there was no blueprint for, children of first or second generation Americans at that, right? So
Mhm.
I'm fascinated being in this beautiful pot of music and sound and then having that in your body. On a very strange side note, if you know jazz, do you know the name Eddie Palmieri at all?
I'm not familiar.
You ask your parents if they're still around, but he was my neighbor growing up, and he is a jazz pianist, and he would come home, and out of his house, you would hear, and we would all
Yeah.
just sit outside, but like listening to this man and his son is also Eddie Jr. Whatever, this big family in there making music. Right,
Yeah.
that. So I'm assuming your house must have been like that for the neighbors.
I wish it was. So, you know, I think growing up, they gave me options because so my dad became a musician because I think when he graduated high school, he ran out of options. It's like, all right, everybody else is going off to college and doing whatever, and he's been like surviving and taking care while my grandfather was away working. And someone introduced to him, he found an old bass and he kind of taught himself. He's self-taught. I think he holds on to that because he didn't go to college. He's only been a musician and he wanted me to do other things. So he never pressed. And when I was about to go to college, we sat together, talking about things because I started getting really discouraged right close to the end of graduation. And I asked him, you know, should I do music too? Like what, just asking questions. And he said he would tell me what his dad told him. And he said, if you love it, you'll do it for free, but be so good you never have to. And
We will snap on that one. That was good.
I mean, it was like he's telling a 17-year-old this. And I wasn't sure because I didn't have good practice habits. Because growing up, my grandfather got me a saxophone when I was like third grade. And I learned then that I
Wait, do you
like,
still play?
no, nah.
Oh.
Through the years, I kept picking up instruments and putting them down. I had really, really poor practice skills. Like, I wanted to do the act of playing. I did not want to do the work. And I didn't know that that was what it was because with singing, I was singing all the time. And I didn't just sing. I was very creative. I did hair and I did all the hair in the neighborhood and prom hair and I made clothes and jewelry and you know the funny part is my grandfather, Chuck Willis's wife, she owned a salon that did Dionne Warwick's hair and like we were in that kind of just that early Atlanta culture, but we weren't rich. So it was one of those things where my grandmother was struggling a lot because my dad was often, working. And she wanted to just make sure that I think that I was balanced because I wasn't like, it's like you hear someone on the radio, you expect them to look a certain way, carry themselves a certain way, have certain things. And I didn't. So I was bullied a lot. And my outlet for what I was experiencing was music. And I didn't care about it for everybody else, but that's just kind of I wrote songs for myself since I was really, really little. I had that one saxophone that I never played and a karaoke machine. And I learned that I preferred the karaoke machine. And the tape that I had Whitney Houston and Billy Ray Cyrus on either side, and I taped over Whitney Houston and kept Billy Ray, and
Okay.
yeah, isn't that crazy?
Well, her notes are hard. It doesn't matter if you're good,
Her notes
right?
were
Her notes,
hard.
they're too hard. Yeah.
You know how you could put tape on a tape? That tells my
Mhm.
age. You put tape on a tape and you could record over it, so I would, like, record my own songs over the other side of it and play them for my grandpa, like, "Tell me if this is good music to you." And, from there I d probably by the time I was 9 years old, I was in studios because my dad was recording, doing other, like, gigs outside of the SOS Band, and I started doing demo singing. So, I learned how to imitate. They would tell me, "Do you know how to sound like these R&B singers that were coming up, like Monica and all these?"
Mm. Oh, no,
So
I know them all. You can go
yeah.
there. I'm there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, I played that Boy Is Mine the other day. It came up on something, and I was like, mm. It's
Yeah.
like I'm like, why do I still know all the words? This is just like a weird thing of mine. Anyway, sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. No, I mean, and all of those singers, they didn't sound like me. I knew they didn't sound like me. And I feel like whenever I tell this, I kind of skip around a bit. I think the biggest point of it is right before that occurred, I had, like, a really weird life-altering thing happen, and I was really, really young. I think I was about 8 years old, and I was sad, and you know how adults, when they start noticing that you're sad, they try to, like, place it and figure it out, but they don't know, and the music teacher at my school gave me a solo to just kind of play around with, but it was Hank Williams, "I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry,"
Uh-huh.
and I think in the choir, we would sing a lot of Americana, and this was the first time that I think I had heard a country song that resonated so deeply with me, and I sang it all the time. And not only did I sang it, I mean, just all the time, and if I met people who I felt, would receive it, they would get that song, and from there, I think I started to shift to wanting to hear more country music, and I think that's where everything kinda turned for me, where I wasn't just listening to what my parents were listening to, but I was trying to hear more, music from other spaces. Um, and yeah, I went into the studio to do I have so many random stories, and I don't wanna, like, bog this down with those random stories, but
No, I
literally
love the random I think I'm, like, listening to your story and, like, I'm like, the grown-up mother that I am, like, wants to cry for the little girl who
yeah,
felt so alone and bullied and isolated, who was probably introverted because right? And without safety and protection, and yet you have this gift that brings people like, my eyes are literally I'm like,
yeah,
I'm a smush. But
I know, yeah.
like, I want to scoop you up, and I know you're a very petite person. You're petite.
Like 5
You're
two.
yeah, you're petite. So, like, I'm thinking you must have been even smaller, right?
Mhm,
And, like, I just want to shove everyone back. I've always wanted to explore the idea of that there is some sort of pain point in our lives for everyone who's creative, right?
mhm,
There are some really sad, horrendous, sometimes uncontrollable moments,
mhm.
right?
Oh, yeah.
That we either like use it as fuel for our creativity and why we go forward, or it can like nail you back in a spot and not let you grow, right? Like that, I
Right.
think sometimes tragedy has that, but I really haven't met a successfully creative person who
Gone through
ex-
something.
hasn't gotten, I'm sure plenty of regular people do too, but I write about a lot of my like sad stuff because I don't want you to think of it when you see me,
Mm,
right? Right, like, the
yeah.
beauty of being a writer that gets published in paper is you don't even know who's doing it,
Right.
right? But you, as a singer, as a musician, it's your face, and it's your voice,
Mhm,
and I think claiming your voice is so beautiful and powerful.
mhm.
And I mean, I would imagine if I was at 8, I was flailing, like, literally, I danced so hard because that was my way of getting I have all these things that no one knows is going on in my head or whatever, like, no awareness about no, that would be not and I was really good at masking, so you would never know that I was unhappy, right? I
Oh,
was the
yeah.
good girl, I did all those things. But I would my body would burn literally, like, every
Mhm,
muscle
mm,
to get it out. Now, if I could, with my mouth open and sing, like, that's
right.
like a whole other level. It's a whole different dimension. It's like it's sound, it penetrates, it's so many other things. I can't create that.
Mhm.
So when was the first time that you wrote a song?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Probably it was early. I had to been, like, 6, the first song, like, the first actual song, cause it was in that mixtape from my granddaddy. I was, like,
Do
throwing
you still
songs.
have it?
I have no idea.
Mm.
Every few years when I'm like doing stuff at my parents' house and unpacking, I run across the tape and then I say, I'm not gonna lose it. I know it's here. And then I can't find it. So I know it's there, but like I think, and even my daughter now, like since I have video of her at 3 and 4, like creating these songs that are very cohesive and saying things that you wouldn't expect a little person to say. So I feel like I was doing that probably before, but I think the first time I was aware that I was saying what I felt, like that it was emotion and not just saying words and imitating or mimicking what's on the radio. Um, After I got that karaoke machine though, I started, learning how to record myself because my parents had studio and we were always in studios. And I learned how to take a boombox and my karaoke and record myself on one side and then take the tape and play it back and record a harmony. So I had to have been about 10 around that time and just experimenting with sound and um I would say things that were so deep for a kid. I do remember a song about having like 5 steps for you to like 5 steps for you to love me. I think it was like 4 step like I counted down and I remember that feeling and now thinking about who was I crushing on? I don't know because I'm like, why don't you see me?
That's hysterical. But you just made me remember the name of the boy I had my first crush on ever. He was so not interested. He's like, yeah, no way, man. And I not interested.
Yes. That's what's important. Music is like that, right? Like I can smell like smells of like I wrote a song about my grandmother and when I sing it, I have like a visceral response to things that I remember about her that may have like faded a bit. I think music is kind of that thing. You remember old names and faces. So,
So so what do you want people to experience? Because you play a bunch of live shows. Like, what do you want them to experience when they see you? And is it the same thing that when they just hear you?
um I think as of late, especially in these last couple of years, I've wanted people to see a softer side of me, which is probably a more complete view because when I wrote the songs that are out and available that are country songs, because I've done features and other things and actually had a cool emo pop album that was out a few years ago. And when we went country, officially with the published music, um, we pull those down. And I realized that when I wrote them, I was in a different space. I was changing a lot with my social circle and my music circle. And I was struggling with feeling heard and seen, which kind of explains some of the lyric, like, who do you think you are? Like, that scream was a real moment that had happened, where I felt like I got kind of brushed away or aside rather, and I was like the head of a department at that time, so I'm like, "How dare you put me out of my," and I wasn't and I wasn't really mad, but I just wanted to feel assertive and feel heard. And I think that people think that my music's a little angry, like a little revengey sometimes. So, because it's so like I'm very boisterous, I'm very present. I'll say
I
that.
think I wouldn't say revengey. I think it's look at me.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
look at me when I say to look at me, and this is who you'll see of me.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's
I like
sexy.
that. Mm.
We'll have to that will be the special clip of it. You look at me and see yeah, no, I think that is controlling your narrative. I
Yeah.
think that's like a moment of saying, "This is who I am."
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just like my whole saying about, like, "Don't put me in a box because 'cause I'll smash it and dance on top."
Yeah.
We're not one thing.
Yeah.
And creative people have to do the dance a lot between day jobs,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And earning money or doing whatever and living and loving their art.
Mhm.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? Like to have your voice that you have sung and had a voice and let it transform and grow with you is
Mm.
a gift instead of it just being one note, literally.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that because it's, ironically, when I said it out loud, I realized, when I released Memphis, that was the first single that we put out in 2023. The first message I got was like a hashtag revenge country. And I never heard that, but I owned it and I was like, okay. Um, but when I wrote it, that wasn't what I was thinking. I actually had written that thinking I was gonna sell it to somebody else because 'cause I'm a songwriter, And I knew that their persona was a lot more forceful and like, but when I wrote Big, I really wrote Big for me. And the other songs that are out, Not One, they all have that common theme of empowerment. And that was the central theme for me in that time of my life. It's like empowerment. Like and I'm here. You articulate it perfect. Um and now I am here, but I'm not mad, I'm not sad. I'm often feeling very loved, and I knew that during that time I didn't write very many love songs, and I don't know that I've even in love, I never wrote love songs. I always wrote about all the other experiences. I would write about someone else's experience before I'd write about my own. And I found in this last couple of years that I've written more songs about my experience in loving others and loving myself, whether it's my daughter, my son, my parents. Like I write these kind of homage pieces, and that's the music that's coming out in the rest of this year and the next year. And so I think when I play live, I play a lot of the new material to test it out, because I need for people, even if it's not out yet, I need for them to see that there is depth in the stories and just the emotional, like, landscape, I think, of the music that I'm writing. So,
Isn't that what country is though? Like it's storytelling, like
yeah.
country music as a whole is, I know there's like blah, blah, I know there's a million different things. Whoever's listening, don't get mad. But I think at the heart of it, it's storytelling.
Mhm.
Like my husband used to listen to alternative rock all the time and he was angry all the time. I was like, "Hey babe, just saying. We're in the South now. Let's try some country." And it's totally chill though, right? Like, it's really changed and I think in the last, I don't know, 15 plus years, there's way more options of
Mhm.
country music out
Mhm.
there. So I think that's interesting. I want to ask you, are you more prolific when you are in an emotionally heightened state, happy or
Ooh.
sad? Or are you just disciplined like how you weren't when you were younger and you just make time to practice and write X amount of times a week?
Wow. Okay, so I think I cycle through both of those spaces. Um, and, emotional regulation is a real
I
thing.
never claim to have it, by the way.
Like, I will say I unfortunately, well, it might be very fortunate. I have ADHD pretty seriously. So my focus is like always like, and I use those surges to create because I know that, I'll get into a mad dash, like really a mania of writing where I won't sleep. I'll get into a project, but I'm a painter, so I will throw that in there. And when I'm painting, I do the same thing. I will paint for 2 days and not sleep until the piece is done. So music is like that for me. If I'm recording, it's like my manager will walk in and my eyes are like buck wide open because I haven't slept. And I'm just trying to get it all out because I don't want to crash and not be as creative as I was the day before. Um, but then because I'm also a music teacher, and, I've been doing artist development for like 13 years, I think now. And I have to practice for the artists that I'm working with and the students that depend on me. My practice skills and my dedication to like sitting in a system, um, it improved my life as a musician and my skill set. Um, Probably in a way that I wouldn't have done just being a musician and just playing. Because just playing out it is just, okay, I've got a gig and I really love this song, so I'm just gonna jam. Um, and I've had good examples. My dad practices, I watch him all the time, we don't play together, but I do watch him preparing for gigs. And he's always prepared and he has to because again, he doesn't read traditional music. So, to compensate, I think, for those things, he's always very, very, very meticulous about the practice. Um and I do that too. I will make time now to sit and go through all my songs and do charts. When it's time to create, depending on what it is, though, because I do write for other artists and I write for sync music for like film and TV and different things like that. I make a schedule for myself to
Uh,
sit down. I don't force it though. And I use a lot of like psychological stuff, like the little lists, when you say, hey, here's a word, and what does this word make you think of? And I do a lot of that though to keep me like going so that I don't have to rely all the time on that heavy emotion and just pouring out all of the things that are personal to me.
yeah, I think sometimes for me personally, I do the 5-minute writing exercise a lot.
Yeah.
Right, because I'm pretty good at procrastinating. I hate laundry, but damn if suddenly that laundry becomes really important.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, just sit for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the 5 minutes almost inevitably is an hour and a half to 2 hours. Like
Right.
you just get in the zone.
Yeah.
It also depends on like where I am in a book or an essay. Like, is it a first draft, second? Is it editorial? Like all of those different thoughts.
Yeah.
Are there that many processes to like writing a song? Right? Like, cause I know
Um,
there's structure to a song. You have to get to the hook. You have to do like all of those things that I don't know, but I know. So like I wonder like the first draft is like, "Oh my god, this is the great idea," or are you always listening and you hear a sound
ooh.
or a tone and you're like, yeah, that."
It's interesting. I feel like you just described a lot of processes because depending if I'm writing by myself, sometimes it can be the last way you just describe it, where it's a sound. I'll pick up instruments because I have like a instrument rack that has all these little teeny things that I like, very interesting sounding string instruments, not necessarily just a guitar. And I'll play around with melodies there. And if something strikes me, I mean, it could be the washing machine like booming. I've recorded the washing machine just for like a bass drum and things like that can make me feel like, inspired, and that'll start something. I just always keep like a recorder with my phone or something so that if I get that idea or I hear that sound, I can record it and then see if something comes of it. And I learned a long time ago that I do a lot of my writing when I'm really not able to write it down. So, yeah. Yes. So like if I'm driving or like in the shower. So I used to have a this idea that if the idea stuck past that moment, then it was really worth me working on. If I remembered it walking down the hall and could make it to where I can,
I so
jot it.
disagree with you. I so disagree. But I love that. This is my favorite part. I disagree because I have notebooks everywhere and Post-its. I like colored paper, like everywhere. I'm very color makes my brain okay, right?
Yes.
There must be a thing about that. So I have 3 blank notebooks and they can't have lines. Bless you all who like to write with lined paper,
Golly.
but I can't line paper and I write diagonally. I write diagonally like this across the page. So diagonal is creative. And if it's a to do or a mechanical thing, it's straight. But I have this because we all know I'm clairvoyant, all those funny things. So
Mhm.
there's this moment when you're not fully conscious, like right before you fall asleep, right? So 3 notebooks in the room, and I've had to get much better. These are my favorite pens. What is
Hold
this?
on, hold it up, hold it up.
It's a
Holly,
Pentel.
you're my person.
I am your person. This is what I've been. Yeah. Anyway, Pentel. It has to be this one. I have a box of them. If it's, I don't write in black ink. I can't even read my handwriting in black ink. It has to be blue, or I have a bajillion colored markers. Because again, but I learned
Same.
if I don't put a marker next to my bed and I go to write in the middle of the night where an idea comes to me, sometimes I write and I will show everyone who's watching on YouTube, because why aren't you watching on YouTube? It might look like this. It might be like a squiggle, but part of it gets erased because the pen isn't down. So clearly you need a marker. And they don't always make sense when I wake up, but almost always it's that piece that I'm missing. Like when I'm writing and I'm stuck and I know I have to get from point A to point B, and I really love point B, but the muddy middle of how do I get there? Like what is the whatever all the writer things.
Yeah.
I take a nap. I become narcoleptic. I'm like, I need to take a nap. And then I put a book on both sides of me, an empty notebook and my pen. And almost always an idea will come and I'm like, that was it. So I used to think like if I wake up and I still have it, but if it's like clairvoyant message, or if it's a message from somewhere else, you're not going to keep it.
Right,
So
that
I
is
also
true.
have notebooks in the car. I don't recommend that. There's better technology now, but I also have notebooks that I think are too pretty to put bad, like my words in sometimes. And I like covet them. And I literally have a stack of those. Don't judge me. But I
Yeah.
think that's also part of the creative process. It's almost like here's an empty space.
Yeah.
What are we going to fill it with? I've struggled through times of like feeling absolutely not creative and thinking that I suck at everything, right? Like whatever, it's the creative person.
Yeah.
Not that I suck as a person, but that like my art or what I'm trying to do is not good enough for what I want it to be, blah blah blah. And always getting judged, right? Because artists
Yeah.
are always being judged by people who don't do it.
Yes.
Whatever, don't even get me started. But for you, what is that like? Like you have to be on stage and present and be the woman and be the face of this.
Mhm.
And what if you're having a bad day? What if you're not feeling it? How do you do
Mm.
that?
You know, I still don't know. There was a time when I would, because I'd have such a hard time to just be up there with so much energy in the room. I used to carry, because I make jewelry, I source crystals and stones, and I would carry like carnelian and tourmaline. Like I'm like, please like block this stuff that I'm feeling,
Selenite. You need selenite.
like, I had
Do you have
all
selenite?
the things. I think I have I have all kinds of stuff, pyrite and, like, just I'm like, "Where's my money and where's my this and where's that?"
This is
And,
just high vibration, just high vibration.
and I would try to place myself in the space where I felt more confident and, also always trying to protect myself too, there's so much of that I think I know that I'm extremely empathic and I feel a lot, and so to keep myself, like, focused and in the space of delivering whatever the musical message is, I have to block out everything else. Um, and now, especially going into country music, and I'm always wondering what people are feeling and thinking about the music, and that can be overwhelming, you know? So, I don't know, have you ever seen, there's a book by Julia Cameron, called The Artist Way,
Of course, it's right
and
there.
oh,
Like literally right there.
of course. So, like, between that and, like, Atomic Habits, that kind of
Mm.
became me walking myself through what my day on a show day, or really a regular day, but especially when I have show days, I really have to do my morning pages and like clear everything out and create a clear path to the stage and visualize that moment and what I need and what I want to give to the audience and what I want to receive back from them prior to actually going on the stage and doing the job.
So it's your ritual. Would you call it a ritual, or
I
would you is
could.
it self-care?
It's
Or
definitely
I don't like people
self-care.
have things to, like, double check. I think, in seeing you, I know you are exceedingly too open. Right? Like,
Mhm.
as an empath looking at another empath. So, like, for me, I'm just like, "What color? Like,
Yeah.
what wall?" But I feel like part of your ADHD lies to you that when you take away feeling some of everyone else's feelings, you're gonna be left with all of yours.
Mhm.
And then you'll
I
have
do
to,
get
like,
that.
finish processing some of
Mhm.
that, which is fine, but it'll make good art, but I also think some of it is, like, old. We could just clear it away. Be like, "Oh, like, that old thing, that doesn't matter anymore. I don't need to connect with anyone through that feeling in my audience." Right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, even like how you said earlier, like, "You're Misha now. See me,
Yeah.
hear me,
Yeah.
bitch." Okay, sorry. I just had to add that
I needed
part
that.
because I know, I was like, it's like I'm all soft and fuzzy and exceedingly emotional and squishy, but I have a good nuh-uh, nuh-uh.
Mhm.
Like, there's a
Mhm.
nuh-uh here at first, just, and I keep a lot more, but you are, again, in front of people
Yeah.
way more.
Yeah.
So I admire that, and maybe offline I will share what I wanna do for you. But I also really wanna touch on, like, you keep saying how you write for other people, and
Mhm.
so, like, for me as an author, that's ghostwriting, right? So, and in that, what is it like to have someone else sing your song? Have you always liked it, and do they sing
Mhm.
it as good as you?
Ooh, okay. Alright, so I enjoy
And you
the
don't have to name names because,
no.
obviously.
I enjoy the process because I get to get outside of like, I'm still infusing pieces of myself. I think, the challenge is always, like they always say, "Don't give them the sauce." Like, if you're an artist, don't give them all of what you would do because now you have someone copying what you would
Mhm.
do, and now they've become you as an artist, inadvertently. And so when I started writing, initially people would say, "You've got to tone down the vocal." And it used to be because they're like, nobody's going to do all of that. Nobody is going to be able to sing as high and sing as low and do all of these harmonies. And um, over time, I started learning how to communicate with the artist prior to like the writing process or during it, and really listen to their stories, not try to write songs with them, but get to know them and know their real stories, and then interpret that. Not necessarily what they say, but sometimes it's just the feeling, like the chord choices if they're melancholy, there's something in not necessarily using sad chords, but choosing even the juxtaposition of something a little bit lighter can like affect people in a different way. And so I think about that all the time. I'm looking at a person and things that I think I know about them versus that vulnerability that you start to see when you're really genuinely asking them about themselves, and that helps me with the writing process, and I tend to get, like, really authentic songs from that, and then watching them sing the songs, in the last few years, I think it got a little bit hard because I was doing more country stuff, and I wanted to keep a lot of the songs that were going out. Um, Honestly, it's how Memphis came to be. It's like some of the songs that I have now, they're mine because you know, got strong at the end of the decision and said, "You know what? Everybody here wants to sell my song but me." And deciding that I would sing those songs and that artist or whoever it was for was not gonna be able to do what I was able to do, and I wanted the chance to do that. Um but I do write songs that we call them throwaways. We're like, "Eh, it's okay. If they don't if it doesn't sound like me, that's the point. It's art. I want you to interpret it. I wanna see it through your eyes and your lens." Um, and so we leave space for that. As a songwriter, we should do that, like, give them the opportunity to be collaborative in the storytelling and the presentation of this art. So, yeah, that's
Is it true that songwriters, I'm assuming you keep your rights because that's how royalties are paid? Is that how that works? It's
yeah. Yeah, as a songwriter, so, I'm also a producer, and as a producer, you can give people songs, you can sell songs exclusively. I mean, that tends to be the case, but most of the time, you are reserving the rights to the master, recording of the song. Um, and as a songwriter, I copyright everything, and, I make sure that, I can do what I wanna do with the song, but I do share, with artists often, which you don't see that a lot, where you'll give something to the artist. But I'm like, if you are adding to the art and interpreting your way, like, we usually try to work things out, and in the business I usually leave to my manager, I um but I do, yeah. I set things up pretty well, or we set things up pretty well where I'm able to still retain, like, my name recognition and then whatever percentages that we agree on for having written the song.
Yeah, I think a lot of artists don't talk about, like, money or, like, making sure you own your stuff. You keep your stuff, man, just keep it. I think
Yeah.
that's my biggest because you can always reuse your stuff. Like,
Yeah.
that's my biggest okay, also wanna this is a burning question. It's a little snarky, but, like, you work with artists and you work with younger people who want to get better at singing and whatever. Have you ever run across a kid who or an artist who their whole heart and being is in it, but you know that voice is really not gonna like, what can you do for that? Like, because we all know there's plenty of, very famous people who are all auto-tuned,
Mhm.
right? Like, that exists, not we can't deny that that happens, but I'm curious about someone with all the heart who has the burning passion, but maybe not the skill. Like, how do you manage that as a person who's mentoring them?
Well,
Or do they not get you because 'cause you're like, "I only deal with people who are this good." Like, how does that work?
I think I what I learned, especially when working out of Atlanta, was that, there are a lot of people who won't take an artist unless they already are at a place where they can take, the credit for having helped them get somewhere. But for me, I actually like when I get a singer who is a little underdeveloped, because talent is one thing. There's things that you just, we know kids that just hum and it just, oh, okay, they must be able to sing. But then skill is something that you can grow, just like you can learn how to type. Um, and I treat the voice like athleticism in a way, like, I mean, the whole body, it's all muscle and tendons and all that. And so the same way you can be out of shape and go and train to be stronger and more flexible and more agile, you can do the same thing with a voice. But it all starts with clearly understanding what you want for that voice. So I do evaluations. Doesn't matter if it's a child or an adult. I always evaluate where I listen to them just sing something naturally, and then we talk about, if in a perfect world, what would you want to see happen with your voice? And then we compare that against where they already are. And then I try to put together a plan that builds up those skills that they say that they want or that I think that they need. Um, and we would do it just like a track coach would do for a kid that's slower, but not slow because they're just slow. I mean, they need muscle to be built, and they gotta do, there's certain exercises they can do to do, I guess, sprints, for example, versus long-term running. And the voice, again, it's the same thing. And I try to look at it like that and never assume that where someone is today is where they'll be in 2 weeks, a month, 6 months, or a year. And I see people grow all the time and become like incredible singers, but they have to be willing to address things and do the work to do it.
I love that I love that. I love all of that. I mean, I didn't even know that was an option that you can build the skill and get. I ju I think that's hopeful. I'm a big believer that I think everyone should be doing some sort of art. You don't have to monetize it. Singing pottery, dancing. I mean, those are some of my
Mm.
things. I bought a bunch of watercolors. I posted a video like a month ago about how awful my picture is. And it's the whole point was I just had fun doing it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to pursue a creative life, right? But it's doesn't mean that the end game or this is winning, right? Like, so what's
Mhm.
success for you? Like, what we're going to give you every dream that you want. What is it?
Oh my goodness. Um, it really is, and it's such a simple goal. I want stability for my kids, for my family, for myself. It's very simple. You know, like it goes back to that first thing. My dad said, if you love it, you'll do it for free. If I couldn't do anything, you know, I've had speech problems in the past, like from health and all these things, and they took my voice for a while. They took my speech. And I remember someone saying, well, if you can't talk, you can't work. And I still was working like a regular like day job thing. I think I was working at a hospital, ironically. And you know, the therapist realized somebody had said, like talking to family, that I was a singer and I was stuttering so badly. And she said, well, today we're going to sing some of these things. We're not just going to talk. And I couldn't get through a single sentence speaking. And we started singing. And I watched and she watched as day by day my speech started to just smooth itself back out because it's just not the same side of the brain. And I learned then, yeah,
Really?
spe- speech and music, like there is,
Mm.
it's something different about language and music, and I feel like that's what they always say about music bridges both of those hemispheres, and, I'm a linguist as well, so, like, the threat of losing my voice was so insane to me that I might not ever sing, and then knowing that I was singing songs but still had a stutter, like a debilitating stutter when I spoke, um, and I still stutter when I get nervous or tired and things like that, and I just know that there's so much just wonderful stuff that the body can do, that we can do as people. And I always want to make sure that I'm looking beyond what people think I can do and what I think I can do and pushing and not giving up. You know, so it all for me it always comes back down to that as a singer, as a writer, and just knowing that if I couldn't sing, I would have been writing. You know, if I couldn't write, I would have been putting colors on the page, you know, something to help me create the pictures in my mind and in my heart.
I
So,
love that. So there's no way you wouldn't be a creative person
no,
because it's just in you. Okay, so the burning question I have is like, have you played with your dad? Like this, hearing how often you didn't, I'm like, what? What the hell? Do I have to facilitate this? What is going on? Please tell me that you two have collaborated in something.
I had the sweetest moment with my dad last week. So, last week, I every oh my gosh, so my birthday just passed, and my son is like my birthday twin. I had him just like a few hours before my birthday. So he's the 4th, I'm the 5th of July. I went home so that I could, you know, be with my parents and all that stuff. And I play dulcimer, which, you know, I have like a stick dulcimer and it's really cute and really easy to play for the most part. And my son, every time he sees me with anything like, you know, that's guitar like, he'll pick it up, but he doesn't usually know how to play. And he took a liking to this thing and he just played around with it. And I sat with him for about an hour and just showed him the chords and things like that. And the next day he picked it up and I picked up my guitar and I was just kind of just leading him and singing through like progressions. I would sing the progression like go to the 1 4, you know, 5 1 and just singing, and he starts playing along and it was right. It was so good. And then so I was like, let me show my parents. So I go and he and I are sitting there and I have the guitar. It's the first time my son and I had done this. He's playing. My dad goes and grabs an acoustic bass, that he never plays, by the way. He used to have this deal with Fender, and they gave it to him, and he just keeps it, but that's what you need for, like, country music. And, we end up playing the greatest country jam. It was so good, and I was fighting tears the whole time because my son didn't know this was the first time that I was doing this with my dad. And, to be able to do that with 3 generations was overwhelmingly powerful for me, um, especially because we don't come from the same music style, but he has played country, he has with other bands, just not with me, you know? And, and it was nothing, no shots to me. I never made the time and, that's how it went. But
Whatever, excuses, excuses. This is a magic moment. Did you record any of it, or is it just a beautiful memory now?
my mom recorded it. My mom recorded it, but I was literally just waking up and being, I don't want to call it vain, but literally I'm like, please don't post it anywhere because I just rolled out of bed. But for me, it's one of those things. It wasn't even about my core memory. I just kept thinking about the core memory for my son, that he's able to do this with his mom and his grandfather, and I don't know that he'll ever forget that. I hope he doesn't,
It
so
it's beautiful. That's like one of those magic moments in life, I would assume, right?
yeah.
That like family thread, the tie, music. And I also think for you, I think you downplay it too much. Like from just like listening to you, but I love like for me hearing you tell that story, it's being seen by the men in your family
Mhm.
for your musicality and your gifts, not just the nurturer of what they need.
Mhm.
Like that's amazing.
Yeah.
I want you to like put that in your coffee and drink it. Like that's really good stuff coming out. I like that.
Yeah.
I can imagine what that's like, honestly.
Yeah.
Like that's like a new goal.
Yeah. It
A
is
new goal.
beautiful. I will say that the support that I have from my dad particularly, and he's always been that way. I think that I've always hidden because to
Mm.
me he's like here, and I've always hidden like I don't do enough, and that they call it imposter syndrome, and I
Yeah.
really have lived in that space, and he's always tried to remind me there's in his eyes there's nothing wrong that I could do, but I always want it to be like he said so good, that, and I just that was the first time that I think I didn't shy away from the opportunity to play in front of him, but really because it wasn't in my mind, it wasn't about me, it was about my son. I wanted him to
Yeah.
have a moment, so
Those cancer women, I'm telling you, they're givers. They're just givers.
uh
So, like, I want to throw this out to any artists listening. I love the quote, like, that you would do it for free. But I got to tell you, a lot of industry, they ask artists to work for free all the time. And it's
Mhm.
really scary to say no. But say no, because the
I know.
minute you own your worth, you get paid. You might have to
Yeah.
wait and you might think you're missing something, but in today's day and age, when there's a bajillion ways for you to get your art, your music, your sound, your stories out, you are not dependent on the free thing. If it's free, you
Mhm.
could do it yourself. I'm just saying, like
Yeah.
that grinds me because people don't think about your rehearsal time, you getting there, how do you practice? You like there's so much that goes into any artistic endeavor that people who maybe aren't inclined to be artistic they don't understand.
Yeah.
So I want to rah you to ask, and you can always negotiate, by the way, but you could just ask and you
Yeah.
never know what's going to happen. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of the interview and I get to ask you my favorite question. If you came with a warning label, what would it be?
Hmm. That warning label, ooh, it would probably be, "Don't tell me I can't.
Mm.
Don't ever tell me I can't do it, because the person not only will I do it, the person you get will be drastically different from the person you would have gotten if you had a little confidence in me at the beginning, you know? So yeah, because now I'm like a bulldozer coming to break that wall down. So yeah.
I love it. Thank you, Misha Fair, for joining me. How can people hear your music? Where do they need to go? How can we connect with you?
You can find my music everywhere. If you go to just type in Misha Fair in a Google search, and you'll find all links to me. All of my music is listed as MISHAFAIR. So that's Instagram, um, Facebook, and might say Misha Fair Music. But if you type my name in, I promise you'll find me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.